Who are the best rappers of the 2020s so far? Well, I'm going to provide you my list of the 10 best. I'm not going to put it in any particular order, but I'm going to give you 10 rappers this decade that I have found to be the most impressive based on my real own personal enjoyment. It can only ever be that. I'm not some objective speaker, ruler of all. I'm only giving you guys my opinion on the best of the best this decade in hip-hop. And yeah, a couple of things I guess I will say before I start is that I'm just going to mostly look at who's impressed me the most, who has put out the best albums, who's put out the best performances. And I think for me personally, if you're going to be a rapper who has only dropped maybe one album, then you're probably not going to make this list. Also, is your consistency been impressive as well? If you've dropped 3 albums but I've only liked one, yeah, you might not make this list either. Or likewise, you know, if you've only dropped like features or that kind of stuff and you've not really put out many great albums, your features might have been great. But again, I'm focusing on the longevity, the consistency, and how much I've been excited by this decade so far. So that's going to be it. That's going to be the list. Let me know yours in the comments, what I should have had on here, what I've missed off, what you think of my list as well. And yeah, interested to see a conversation open up here. That's going to be the video. Hopefully you enjoy. Let's get on with it. The most obvious place to start has to be Kendrick Lamar. I may as well get this one out of the way. This was obviously a nailed on no-brainer. And if this was an ordered list, he would be number one this decade. He has had some really good features throughout the decade, so I think that's also something that goes for his name. But of course, he's had Mr. Morale, which is one of the most therapeutic and detailed rap albums ever, and it's not even an amazing album to me, to be honest with you. I think sometimes the music on that could have been a little bit better. Could have been some tidier moments for me personally, but just approaching that album in the way that he did was so remarkable and so impressive, and only something that really he can do. Nobody else in the world of hip-hop has really been able to ever touch that kind of topic in such a detailed and intricate way. That would probably be almost enough to put him on the list, to be honest with you. But of course, then he had the beef with Drake, put out some fantastic tracks there, clearly won the beef, and now we've got the GNX era as well. So yeah, this has just been excellent from the moment the decade kicked off. And he was pretty quiet for a while too. He was pretty radio silent up until those Baby Keem features. So yeah, the guy has been excellent. The guy is prophetic. He just seems to say things that manages to become true. He just puts a hex on someone and they become cursed. Yeah, the Carter 6 is a great example of that. Yeah, what a terrible album that was, but it feels like Kendrick just cursed Wayne before he could even make his way into making a good album. So, you know, yeah, it's one of those weird things for Kendrick, but he's the boogeyman. He puts out fantastic music as well. I think he's a very clear frontrunner for the best rapper this decade so far. And like being this late into his career, being in a conversation like that, I don't think people realize how insanely impressive that is, to be honest with you. He's hitting a second peak. Mad stuff. Next rapper on a name is McKinley Dixon, who isn't getting anywhere near as much love as he should be, but this guy should be on everybody's lists for the 2020s. Seriously, in 2023, when everyone was saying how boring rap is, how Travis Scott saved it, which he didn't, because Utopia really isn't that good, to be honest with you, and isn't aging the best either, I don't think, apart from like maybe 5 or 6 songs, which are fantastic. Like, during that whole time, when everyone was saying rap was boring, McKinley Dixon had not long put out an album, and nobody talked about it. None of the hip-hop publications were gassing it up. None of the hip-hop heads that apparently, you know, hip-hop heads were talking about it. Crazy stuff, man. McKinley Dixon should be getting way more attention than he's getting. Thankfully, he's dropped an album this year as well, which seems to be getting far more love than the previous stuff he's put out. But Beloved Paradise Jazz is great. He kicked off the decade with a solid intro to what he can do. But I think that album, looking back now, is probably his worst album so far. And that's not even a bad album, by the way. It's just that the two after it have just been so bloody good. This guy has so much soul oozing out of him. Like, he really has powerful messages and powerful words and delivers it over some incredibly like elegant and stunning production. Absolutely love what this guy is doing, and yeah, I think he's going to go down again this year as being a great rapper with a great album. And I just hope to God he doesn't get overlooked this time, because he deserves way more love. Cheating a little bit here by including a rap group, but I want to mention Clipping, who have just been so incredibly consistent for years and have always wowed me with their remarkable concepts and their remarkable approach to hip hop and their expansive worlds that they create within their albums, and the detailed stories from track to track. It's insane what these guys can do. But yeah, I couldn't not mention these, because again, slightly overlooked, slightly getting a bit underrated, and not really getting the love that they really truly deserve. And for experimental hip hop, this is definitely a group that everybody should be checking out. Just incredible music. David is an insane spitter. The production is just always constantly shifting and being really strange and obscure and niche, but it is fantastic. Love what they do. Couldn't not mention my boy Tyler for this list as well. Tyler has put out great stuff in the 2020 so far. Absolutely loved Call Me If You Get Lost. Loved the mixtape vibes that were coming through, the 2000s era, kind of hard knocking beats and DJ drama all over that thing, yelping crazy stuff like he doesn't know Edge Neither is. Just such a fun album. I love how he went in that direction right after Igor as well, which was way more, detailed and experimental for his sound. And then he just kind of went, let's just have fun. Let's just tell you guys I'm in a good place. I've got a lot of fun things to rap about. I'm happy right now. And he just really showed us that on that album. Then he dropped the deluxe tracks, which are literally as good as the entire album, which is a really rare thing to see. You could really justify putting Sorry Not Sorry on the original track list. To call that a deluxe song is mad, because that's truly one of his best songs ever. Then you come to 2024 with Chromacopia, and I'm seeing some people say it doesn't have much replay value, but I think it's the opposite of that. I think listening to that album more and more just unfolded the beauty behind the lyrics and the concept of the whole thing. Really thought people underrated that element of the album, and he was very clear in his interviews that he was very inspired by Mr. Morale, which I've already mentioned, and that kind of openness, releasing to the world all your flaws and all of the things that make you who you are. And, the lack of father in his life, the relationships that he's had, so many great song topics that he explores on that thing with fantastic production as usual. Come on, man. Tyler is definitely in the top 10 for this decade. I feel like there's just no point in explaining that. He's just been brilliant. I want to mention Bladee next, who is a bit of a controversial figure in the world of hip hop. I think a lot of people are very much not on board with the drain. You're not drained, you don't get it, you're not with it, or you're just the complete opposite end and you're just obsessed with what this guy does. I think once he clicks, for me, there was no going back. And The Fool, for me, still is his best ever album so far. I love The Fool, love the production on that. I think the vocals have a real charm on that thing. And then he gave us Cold Visions last year, which is delving into this rage sound, which we've seen kind of burst into the world of hip-hop since Carti did it in 2020 with Whole Lot of Red. A very influential album looking back now, because a lot of rappers really wanted to try and test that sound and take that sound and push it as far as they could. And Bladee had his own go at it. And yeah, Cold Visions is very long, but just full of hard-hitting bangers from start to end. And he's also dropped even other projects in this time as well that have been also pretty good, to be fair. So yeah, those two are the main highlights, I think, for the decade so far. But they were enough for me to include him on this list. I think there will be some people that kind of side-eye it and think, oh, Bladee really in the top 10. But yeah, I think for now, he remains unchallenged for this list for me personally. I think, as the decade unfolds, could other rappers come through and kind of take this place? Possibly. But Bladee is very much well earned to be mentioned here for me, I think. I will say for me, my Peggy is Cities Aviv. I think that's the rapper that's doing experimental sounds, pushing the boundaries of hip hop in a way that's unique, strange, quirky, eccentric, all the things you could absolutely describe JPEG Mafia as. But JPEG Mafia doesn't quite click for me personally, whereas Cities Aviv is pulling from those really obscure niche soul samples, twisting them, spinning them upside down, turning it on its head, and making some incredible rap music from it. I am very much on board with what Cities Aviv is doing. The 2023 album for me personally is the one so far, but also A Man Played the Horn also came out this decade. This guy is very much truly giving us some incredible music that isn't quite getting the love it really deserves. And yeah, I think if I had to pick one artist that's in that kind of niche, experimental, abstract bracket, I'd have to go with Cities Aviv. Might not be on everybody's lists, but check him out, honestly. Give him some time. Some of the albums are really long, but trust me, trust the process. Little Simz for me is a no-brainer as well. Have to include her on the list. She's actually up to, what, 3 albums this decade so far? An impressive outing. We got the best thing she's ever put out at the beginning of the decade, 2021, with Sometimes I Might Be Introvert. Genuinely in that conversation for me for rap album of the decade so far. I think that's got to be in the top 2 or 3 easily. It might be 1, possibly. So that alone probably was enough for her to be on the list. But then she gave us an album the year after that, which I wasn't quite expecting. That album wasn't quite as deep or as heavy or as conceptual or as extravagant, but she was rapping. She gave us songs like Angel. She gave us songs like Gorilla. So many great tracks on that one. And this year as well with her album, which I think is definitely the worst of the decade for her, but that isn't saying a huge amount because when Simz isn't her best, she's still putting out good music. So really lovely features on this thing. It's a very soulful album. You know, you've got the classic Abong Ja Ya on here, the Michael Kiwanuka features. It feels a little familiar for her, but I think even the 2 albums prior to this one were more than enough to put her on this list. And she's just so ridiculously consistent. The best thing coming out of the UK right now in rap, 100%. Central C's got nothing on her. Absolutely nothing on her. And a lot of UK rap at the moment is a bit dry. Not a lot of it's that great to me, if I'm being totally honest. But Little Simz is the gem amongst all of them. A very niche pick. I think this might be the most niche pick on the whole thing. I haven't seen a lot of love for Kahlil Blu, but Kahlil Blu for me has to be mentioned here. I love what this guy is doing. Just makes some really catchy melodic rap music with some heavy trap beats at times. It's kind of like taking that trap sound but not going fully all the way with it, and also just coming out with some really fun up tempo bangers. Like every track just hits you. It's just hard hitting. The songs are pretty short, but they're snappy and they go immediately into the next track and immediately into the track after that. It's so much fun. I think Kahlil Blu is carving out a lane for himself that not many other rappers are touching right now. Not the most lyrical or anything like that, but I think what he's doing is great. And while we're on the topic of blue, I'm going to give you Navy Blue as well for a mention in the top 10 of this decade so far. I think Navy Blue has the really soulful, abstract hip-hop sound down to a T. I think a lot of people might gravitate towards more of the likes of Billy Woods, who has a very different approach to his writing or anything like that compared to a Navy Blue. But for me personally, I think this sound, this kind of like Earl Sweatshirt torch being passed on, is very impressive for me for Navy Blue. Loved what he's put out so far. Other people might say Mike. I'm a big fan of Mike. I do like Mike. I think he is definitely worthy of being on this list. And yeah, Marvi was unlucky to not make this list too, but I wanted to mention Navy Blue for my pick here. And my 10th and final pick, but this does not mean they are last. They are very much in the running for being the best rapper this decade so far. Vince friggin' Staples. Love Vince, man. He has been fantastic this decade. Again, I feel like he's reached a second peak like Kendrick has, like just pushing through the years and all of a sudden giving us some of his best work kind of out of nowhere, really. And yeah, I do like his 2010s work, don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot to love about that stuff. But for me personally, like Dark Times, and self-titled album, man. Oh my god, incredible stuff. There is one album in between which was pretty solid as well. So he's got 3 albums this decade that rival any other rapper's discographies this decade for sure. Such a good artist. Has a really like dark and like depressing approach to writing about the surroundings and the lifestyle that he's lived, but it is incredibly like potent stuff as well. Very emotional, some incredible production that goes along with it too. Love it, man. Vince Staples easily on this list for me. And that is the top 10 from me. I have given you 10 rappers there that, for me personally, for my personal opinion, have been the best rappers of this decade so far. But of course, you guys could disagree. You guys could pick out your own rappers that you think should be on this list instead. And I am all ears. I did give a couple of mentions throughout this video to other names. So some of those names might be on your list. Some names I've not even said could be on your list as well. I'm sure you will be thinking about other people as well. Some people might be thinking of a J. Cole, a Jid, A$AP Rock, like lots of other names as well as the ones I've mentioned throughout the video. So let me know if you agree with my list, disagree. Have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're feeling very generous, check out my Patreon and membership page because that would be wonderful.